Was microphone and the speaker in YouTube not muted?
Could it work?
Speaker not muted in YouTube. That may be. So we get in here. I heard from
The mute it right there.
Yep.
You know, it had to be something like. And
Sean, the floor is yours again.
All right.
Thanks for being patient.
Thanks for having me again. So for the audit scope, you had three parts to your audit this year. The annual financial report, so you get an opinion on your governmental activities, each major fund, and then the aggregate remaining fund information. You did not have a federal single audit. For 2025, the threshold was 750,000 of federal expenditures. In 2026, it's going to go up to $1 million. So you likely won't have it again in 2026 unless you do some kind of large bridge project. You had your state single audit, so grant compliance audit for state grants. For 2025, the threshold went from 300,000 to 500,000. And then you have your Board of Education EFS agreed upon procedure report. So I'll jump back and forth between the audit PDF and then this PowerPoint, just kind of going to the pages that it pertains to. So on page 13 of the main report, I don't know if you guys have the reports in front of you. General fund column down towards the bottom, fund balances. So general fund, total fund balance, 1,480,391 at June 30, 2025. We'll see the components later on in the report on page 32. You guys have a fund balance policy to aim for general fund unassigned fund balance of between 8 and 12% of your total operating general fund expenditures. Your unassigned general fund balance of 1,048,989 is about 10.5% of general fund budgeted operating expenditures. So you're right in the middle of your target range. Also on page 13, so you guys assigned $431,402 to be used in your fiscal year 2026 budget. Going to page 15. Okay, so for fiscal year 25, you had a decrease in your general fund balance of 281,645. This is mainly due to you had originally anticipated using about 410,000 of your fund balance, which was offset by higher than anticipated tax collections and some permit collections. So page 17 has a summarized version of your budget. We'll look at the detailed breakdown a little further on. Going to page 26. So we have a budget to GAAP reconciliation. So this will reconcile the budgetary basis numbers like you're used to seeing in your reporting to what the GAAP basis is back on page 15. For you guys, the main difference is the on behalf payments for state teachers retirement and OPEB that the state kicks in on your behalf. It's grossed up as a revenue and an expenditure for GAAP basis. I put in a chart here. So this is your 3-year general fund balance trend. You can see it has decreased from 24 to 25, but 25 is still at 10.5%, which is right about in the middle of your targeted range. Going to pages 30 and 31. Okay, long-term liabilities. So you paid down some of your equipment financing notes by 54,941, leaving you a balance of 265,000 at year end. Also during 2025. So for this year, we had to implement GASB 101, which changed how the compensated absences were calculated. So you have a compensated absence liability at year end of 453,000. And this is made up of vacation and sick time, which has been earned. So this is town and Board of Ed, earned by the employees. It can carry forward and then is more likely than not to be used for time off or paid out in cash. And it's done on a first in, first out basis. Going to page 32. So we have a chart. It breaks down your fund balances into the buckets that they're assigned or restricted for. You can see your general fund had assigned 431,402 to next year's budget. And then it has a breakdown of your aggregate non-major funds into the buckets. So you have restricted for cemetery maintenance, 56,000, open space, 19,000, education programs, 85,000. Going forward to page 40. So we have a subsequent event paragraph. After year end, the town and Board of Ed entered into an agreement to purchase 4 new 2026 school buses through equipment financing. So principal and interest payments will be roughly 93,000 a year beginning in September 2025, and that'll run through September of 2030. Also on page 40, so we have upcoming pronouncements. So for fiscal year 2026, we'll have to implement GASB Statement 103. And so the impact this will have on you guys is the budgetary schedule will need to also present a variance column for the original to the amended budget. So if we look at your budget, so we'll need to add one more column in here to show the change from original to amended. And then after the budget, there's going to be notes. So you'll have to explain any significant changes between the original and the amended budget. And you'll have to explain the reasoning for any significant difference between the amended budget and the year-to-date actual. So they're looking for a little more transparency on big variances in your budget.
Is there a specific threshold for significant?
No, so there's no defined threshold. I guess it would be up to us, either us or you, to kind of come up with what significant is. Internally, we've discussed coming up with like a percent threshold based on your budgeted revenue. But GASB didn't define one. Going to pages 44 to 50. So this is your detailed budgetary schedule. So tax collections. So better than anticipated tax collections of 100 and about 30,000. You also had better than anticipated permits, about 73,000. There's a couple departments which are over budget. So you had Selectmen, it went over about 17,000 in total. Tax collectors over about 900. Inland wetlands, about 1,000. Overall expenditures were under by about 84,000. So that contributed to the less than you guys expected decrease in your general fund balance. Going to page 53. So one of the metrics we look at when we're evaluating the taxes, the outstanding taxes receivable balance. So at year end, you had 175,000 outstanding. That covers the last 15 grand list years that are collectible. And we compare that to your current levy. And it works out to about 2.5% of the levy. So we usually see it between like 2 and 4. Some places will be lower than 2, but there's not too many higher than 4. Once they start getting up there, we'll look into reasons why. It could be that there's some properties that are uncollectible, that aren't worth taking, or there's things in lawsuit. I guess, does anyone have any questions on the financial statement part?
Good.
Good. Okay, so we're going to go to the state single audit. It's the smaller audit package, if you have them in front of you. Going to page 6. So this is your schedule of expenditures of state financial assistance. Let me zoom in a little. Okay, so total expenditures for the year, about 3.7 million. Of that, about 2.1 million was your ECS and excess cost grants. You had another 331,000, which was tiered pilot payments. You spent about 173,000 for town aid road grants. 499,000 was steep, and then another about 220,000 for early care and education grants. Going to your schedule of findings and question costs. So the major programs tested during the year. So we had Town Aid Road was selected, steep and low sub. Internal control over financial reporting. So there was no material weaknesses identified, no significant deficiencies identified, and no non-compliance material to the financial statements. In regards to the state financial programs that were selected, those 3 below there, no material weaknesses identified in internal control over the major program. No significant deficiency identified in the internal control over the major program. And you received unmodified opinions, so clean opinions on those 3 programs. Going forward, so we did have a management letter this year. So the management letter is just lower level comments. They're not material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, but we just feel they're important enough to communicate to those charged with governance. So for this year, the reconciliation between EGMS and the Board of Education. Some grant expenditures reported to SDE on the EGMS portal didn't reconcile back to the expenditures in the Board of Ed general ledger. So we recommend that the amounts reported as expended to CTSDE through the EGMS portal are reviewed and reconciled with the final general ledger reports before we get them for the audit. If there's any changes that need to be made after the expenditures are submitted to EGMS, then SDE should be contacted so that they can reopen it so you can make the corrections. And then the second one. So during the audit, we tested samples of invoices. We do this across all funds, town and Board of Ed. So some of the invoices that were picked at the Board of Education through the general fund, CAF grants and student activities had supporting documentation, but it didn't have like a physical evidence of approval on it. So good control would be to have somebody initial it, showing that it's approved, so that when somebody comes back and looks at it at a later time, you can see that this was in fact an approved invoice. And then that's pretty much all the big items. If anyone has questions on the single audit or the management letter.
I have a question about something you mentioned earlier. The trigger for a federal audit if we exceed $1 million. And the three of us were kind of joking when you said the words, oh, that would only come into play if you have a big bridge project coming up. So we do have a big bridge project coming up.
Okay, so
So anything we need to be concerned about or anything we need to do in preparation for a federal audit?
so it'll likely be the bridge program then. You'll have like the consultant running it for you, right? Like he'll be the one doing the bidding and monitoring the job.
Yeah, that's Leacock's doing that, right?
Yeah.
Or,
Oh,
Leacock's doing engineering services.
yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, so they're used to having the federal audits done because a lot of the bridge projects do get selected. So they'll make sure that the materials testing is done. That's one of the compliance requirements. And then just procurement to make sure that it was actually like bid out free and open competition.
Okay. That was all I had.
That's it.
I don't have anything. We're going to this tomorrow.
Sean, looks like we're good.
Okay. Thanks for having me, and everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Too.
Thank you. We'll get into tax refund tonight. Patel D-back, 183 Preston City Road, 2619. Toyota lease trust, 281.58. Toyota lease trust, again, 126.14. We got Kevin McManus and Roxanne McManus, 707 Beach Farm Road, 140.01. Now we have Jessica Grimminger Bolton, 286 Pawtucket Turnpike, and that is for 28.29.
I was motion to approve all nine tax refunds.
I abstain on the tax refund for myself, and I second the motion for all others. For the other four, there are 5 total. So, Brian, you'll have to make a motion to approve my tax
Okay.
refund.
Okay, the motion to approve Jessica Grimminger Bolton's 28.29 rebate.
Okay, are you making that motion?
He's making the motion, so.
Well, we did, all right. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. So it passes with 2 out of 3.
So we didn't vote on the first motion.
Right, so let's clean up that motion then, Sue.
Yeah.
If you want to just make a motion for the 4 that are not
Yeah.
for, not
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I'll second the motion for the 4 that are not for my property.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We got there. Thanks for.
Okay, now we're gonna go into executive session for the hiring of a new town clerk aide.
Motion to move to executive session.
Second.